I had no interest in Jane Goodall whatsoever. And Alan Ayers, the president of Nat Geo, saw a montage of Heck. And Nat Geo had recently discovered this treasure chest footage. And he thought I would be able to put the film together. And when he called me, I was like, I mean, it was kind of like crazy. Like, why are you calling the guy who just made Montage of Heck to do a film about Jane Goodall? It seemed totally absurd. But he saw something that I didn't see. When I did have an opportunity to look at some footage, I realized how that I almost made the biggest mistake of my life. I came a hair away from making the biggest mistake of my life because Hugo's footage, and God, amazing Hugo von Lawick winning a award for best cinematography 17 years after he passed is so extraordinary and amazing to me. I did not think for a second that was ever going to happen. I am so in awe of my peers for recognizing his extraordinary work. Anyway, I went off subject, but just so thrilled. I got so used to losing. I've lost. My films were prior to night 0 for 20 at these things. So it's literally like I was coming here tonight, just like I was going to my own funeral. So it's very exciting. For me, on my personal journey, it all began with The Kid Stays in the Picture, which was an opportunity to create a nonfiction film that had the flourish and the pizzazz of fiction. And so I think that in this century, particularly with the advent of the advances in digital technologies and sound technologies. You know, the movie Jane, I would say our sound components, our 7.1 soundscape, I'll put that up there against any feature film. You couldn't do that, you know, when Hugo was making Jane in the 60s. So I think advances in technology have really opened up new aesthetic opportunities for us as directors. And I've often said that, you know, when Jane Goodall saw Jane for the first time, she said it was the first movie she'd seen of her life that really allowed her to experience it as she experienced it. And I've always said it's because of technology that enabled us to create that subjective experience for her with 250 hours of color grading and 2.5 months of intricate sound work that you couldn't do, or 2.5 years of sound work, I'm sorry, that you couldn't do back then. So I think it's an amazing time, and I think that oftentimes as directors, we're meant to be in the behind the scenes in our nonfiction work. So this is particularly rewarding. I mean, it's, you know, my favorite vocation. I first worked with Ellen in 2003, directing commercials. She was my cinematographer. And I've had the opportunity to work with some of the world's greatest cinematographers and editors and craftspeople, several Academy Award-winning cinematographers. I was a commercial director for 15 years at Anonymous Content. Ellen Kiris is the single greatest filmmaker I have ever collaborated with. And I don't say that lightly. She's an absolute genius. And we were shooting a pilot for Hulu, a scripted piece down in Georgia, when I was putting this shoot together, and she said, "Oh, you're going? Well, I'll do it. You know, what are we doing?" And I said, "We're going down to Africa to be with Jane Goodall." And so she came down, and I mean, she was such a wonderful addition. And to have Ellen, I don't know if Ellen was comfortable saying this, but Ellen is the Jane Goodall of cinematography. I mean, she broke down every barrier. She's the first woman to ever shoot a major Hollywood film. So to have Ellen Kiris shooting the Jane Goodall film seems so appropriate, and I just so honored that that the Academy decided to recognize Hugo and Ellen. It's really extraordinary.